cohort, the Michigan fan.
Here we go. Hi, this is AP Stedham from LA, Lower Alabama. This is AP As We See It, a syndicated weekly one-hour show discussing the Southeastern Conference and always keeping an eye on the national college football scene and other sports. Before we get to our great guest, Kirk Bohls from the Houston Chronicle, we want to thank our great hosts this week in Dallas, Texas, the Aloft Dallas Downtown, Alex, Cruz, and staff. They provide exquisite accommodations and top-flight hospitality. You can call them at 214-761-000 or visit www.loftdallasdowntown.com. We also want to thank Greer's Markets, 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, Mississippi. Check their weekly ads and specials. They have coloring contests for the kids, and they'll get you ready for all these football games, family, friends, and football. For sure. We also have Robertsdale Dental Care. You can contact Dr. Jason Northcutt and his staff, 251-947-3636. And also, we want to mention Wind Creek Casino. They have 3 locations in Alabama, Atmore, Montgomery, and Wetumpka. Now we want to get to our social media. Check us out on AP Stedham or at AP As We See It, Instagram, Facebook, X account, Spotify as well. We want to welcome our guest, special guest Kirk Bohls, Houston Chronicle columnist extraordinaire, past president of the Football Writers Association of America. If we listed all the accolades, it would take up the entire show. But we want to welcome Kirk Bohls to AP As We See It. Hey, Kirk.
Good to see you, AP.
Yeah, good to see you.
It's been too long.
Been too long, sure has. Kirk, how have you enjoyed covering the Southeastern Conference with Texas?
Man, it's been a godsend. And I'm on record as saying, I wish it had happened 30 years ago, because I think we all missed a lot of good times. But, yeah, it's been fascinating, and the fact that Texas has been a pretty decent football team this year has just kind of added to the entertainment value.
Yeah, these Texas folks, they have to be doubly excited to be back in the Cotton Bowl and facing Ohio State.
In the last SEC team. Who saw that coming?
Unbelievable.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, just 2 years ago, AP. You know, Texas went 5-7 and then 8-5, 13-12 AP, and we're going, guys, Sark the guy. Here they are, made it to the SEC title game and the last team in the CFP.
Oh my goodness, this Texas team, Kirk. What should people know about it? What do you like to tell people about this edition?
Well, it's just so much better than even last year's team,
right,
which won 12 games, went 12-2, and you remember they lost to Washington in the semifinals with Quinn Ewers throwing in the end zone on the last 4 plays of the game. So they weren't that far away from getting to the Natty and playing for the championship. But it's like the improvement, I would say. Quinn is so much better. Quinn Ewers, the quarterback. But the defense is where they made the biggest stride. I mean, they were awful in the secondary. They ranked 116th in passing defense, and they've been number 1 for most of the year. I don't know if they're 1 or 2 or 3, but the transformation of that pass defense has been profound.
That'll put you in some championship situations, playing some defense,
keep you in a lot of games.
Right?
Absolutely, that's one reliable you can count on.
How does Steve Sarkisian coach in these types of games?
Well, it's interesting because he's got that reputation of maybe a genius play caller, maybe the best play caller in college football, and a quarterback maker. And I think all of those things are true. It's one thing that Texas fans, you always nitpick, because, hey, they're not undefeated. They did lose 2 games to Georgia and almost lost to Arizona State in the Peach Bowl. Is that he's such a good guy and a good, smart, clever guy. Sometimes he's too clever for his own good, and he can be a little stubborn and enforce some things. And I think that's just how his creative mind works.
Yes.
That he's always tinkering with the offense and making changes.
They had a few hiccups against Georgia, and I think primarily the offensive line. They surrendered the 13 sacks in the 2 games.
You're being kind when you said hiccups, AP. That was a travesty. I mean, like the 2 games, you mentioned the 13 sacks they gave up.
Right.
I think Ohio State's given up 12 all year, and Texas gave that up in 2 games against the same team.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, that's been problematic for Texas against strong defenses,
Yeah.
and particularly strong defensive fronts like Ohio State has. So that's something that's really going to bear watching, and that along with the run game problems that they had. You know, the two games against Georgia, they ran for 60 yards total.
Total. Oh, my
29
goodness.
in Austin, 31 in Atlanta
My
in the
goodness.
SEC title game, and then they repeated that against Arizona State and ran for 53 yards. So you do that against Ohio State, you know, they're going to be dotting the I by halftime.
Won't be good. What might be an offensive edge for Texas? Is there any
Well,
offensive edge?
personally, I
Yeah.
think Quinn Ewers is the better quarterback. No disrespect for
Will
Will
Howard,
Howard, who's done a phenomenal job, and he's like 72% completion.
Right.
Yeah, he's got a couple of pretty good guys to throw to.
Oh, my goodness,
That's
yes,
obvious.
very good.
But, you know, he'll make a mistake here and there, but so will Quinn. You know, Quinn's, you know, he's had, I think it's 7 interceptions to 29 touchdowns, I think. But I do think they have a little bit of edge there. Home field advantage, we'll see how that
Yes,
plays out
yes.
because we know how the Buckeyes travel.
Yes, they travel very
I
well.
remember when they came to Austin for the only time in 2006 and beat Texas like 24-7. That was the second start for Colt McCoy, quarterback as a redshirt freshman. And at least 10,000 Ohio State fans came. Didn't even have tickets, AP. They just wanted to be in Austin and be in bars and
amazing.
watering holes and just to support their team.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Their fans, both of them, they're great fans.
Yeah,
You know, I
yeah.
think I love their bands too. Both
Yeah,
bands.
they'll be well
The
represented
fight songs,
here
I love
tomorrow.
them. Any defensive edge for Texas at all? Any defensive
Well,
edge?
I guess I'd be tempted to say
Yeah.
secondary just because Texas has the Thorpe Award winner, Jahdae Barron. They've
Right.
got an All-American safety in the walk-on, Michael Tapp. And those two had the highest grades by Pro Football Focus for a cornerback or a safety in college football this year. And then you look at Andrew Makuba, the transfer from Clemson.
Clemson, right.
He had the big interception to seal the win against Arizona State. He's got 5 interceptions, the same as Barron. And they've got 21 interceptions,
quite a
as a
few.
defense. So that's probably, I would say, but Caleb Downs might even be the best DB on the field
Yes,
Friday
very good.
night.
Very
But
good.
he's darn good, first team All-American on our football writers All-America team. So, but I think overall, I would say I'd give Texas a slight edge in secondary, but that might be negated by how good Jeremiah
Yeah,
Smith
they
and Emeka Guba and Cornell Tate is.
Right. They have exceptional receivers for Ohio State. That Jeremiah Smith, I don't know if I've seen somebody, but he reminds me of a Julio Jones type.
Yeah.
Not only the way he
Right.
plays and his physical ability, but his maturity as a freshman.
Oh my gosh, unbelievable! And
Yeah.
he would have 14 touchdowns and over 1,000. Would he have 1,400 yards receiving, something like that? He reminds me a little bit of Texas Roy Williams.
Yes,
you
Roy
remember
Williams.
him?
I sure remember him. Big receiver.
Big physical guy and terrific hands. And I don't know how you stop him. It's going to be fascinating to see if they double him or do they put Jahdae Barron, their Thorpe Award, and say, you got him locked down. I asked Jahdae on Wednesday, I said, did you go to Pete Kwiatkowski and say, I want Jeremiah Smith? And he said, I just went to PK and said, I want to play football. He wouldn't tip his hand.
No.
But that's going to be a fascinating part of this
Oh, yeah.
game as it plays out.
Oh, yeah, he's a good competitor. Yeah, all competitors
Oh,
want
yeah.
to play against the best
Absolutely.
and make themselves a name, and everybody's watching. The Texas fan base, they're going to be in full force, I know, with the Cotton Bowl. I think is this the 89th edition maybe?
89th, and Texas has been here more than any other team.
Any other
They're like
team.
11 and 10, in the Cotton Bowl.
Cotton
But those were played over at Fair Park,
Right, yeah.
not at Jerry World.
No. But this is the first time they have the college football playoff, the semifinal. I don't think the Texas fans could be happier, really.
Oh, they're thrilled. I think they're very nervous about this matchup, and
Yeah.
understandably so. But to do this in the first year in the SEC,
Yes.
and Sark built this team to be ready for the SEC and to make a deep run in the playoff, because he's talked about depth in spring training. He
Right.
said we need to play a lot of guys and a lot of guys early, because you're going to have injuries and you don't want to be looking and see if your backup can play in December
No,
or
no.
January. So
No.
I think that's one edge that Texas has, if not over Ohio State, over a lot of teams, that they were kind of built for a deep playoff run.
When you watch Ohio State, they seem to have the best talent in America overall. I mean, offensively, looking,
Yeah.
two excellent running backs. That was an all SEC selection
Yeah.
2 years in a row.
Oh, yeah,
They
and
transferred Judkins from
Yeah.
a small little town in Alabama. And then you have those two receivers and the third one as well. And then the tight end and then the quarterback, Will Howard. I think he surprised people. And,
Yeah.
that Michigan game aside, I think the whole team,
Right.
that's not a reflection of their talent. There's something, I don't know what was happening that day, but the play calling and the execution.
I think more than anything, AP, I think Ohio State just plays tight in that
did.
series. And
Yes.
the fact they've lost 4 in a row to Michigan now just kind of validates that.
Right.
And I think since that Michigan game, they played with a looseness.
Oh, yes.
And I think one of the players called it like a psychological anger that, we're better than this.
Yes.
We're going to show the world who we really are. And boy, they have.
They sure have. They wiped up the field with Tennessee and
It's over at halftime.
Arizona State. They hung on to win.
21-0,
game.
34-0 leads. I mean,
Yeah.
Boy.
No, tremendous. We're going to be back right after these messages with our guest, Kirk Bowles, the Houston Chronicle columnist with AP As We See It. We'll be back after these messages.